Happy anniversary, Brent.
Thank you, Daniel. I really appreciate that.
And
I
by
liked
the
a
way,
picture on Facebook, so I've already covered my congratulations.
it's cool, man. It's all cool.
if
All right,
either
so how
you
do we
guys-
feel about this episode?
I feel like it's the least Tony-friendly episode ever. It's just none of the topics. I mean, our fucking main topic is Halo. How can they make it better? Don't make it.
This is Epic Battle Cries Skirmish 236 Mehdiocre!
Hello and welcome to Epic Battle Cry. This is the place where we cut through the crap to bring you the real deal on the gaming industry today. With me, I'm your host, Tony Cries. I was just gonna go on. And
Hi.
with me, as always, is Daniel Kaiser and Brent Adams. Daniel, how you doing this week, man?
I'm doing great, TG in 3D. We're just a couple of weeks away from the Electronic Entertainment Expo, and it's another year, another opportunity for all the global gaming masses to descend upon Los Angeles and get stuck in traffic, just like every other day of the week in Los Angeles. So I'm excited about that. And getting ready to do our stuff on Spike TV, and then probably walk around town and talk about video games and stuff like that. So
we can't get the insider info. Is there going to be like any special co-hosts or anything?
Yes, there are.
But you can't talk about it yet?
Can't talk about it just yet. But let's just...
Joel McHale. They're bringing him back, right?
I was about to say Joe McHale is definitely not.
Yeah. Definitely not coming back, huh?
Really? That's surprising.
It is.
Well, that's awesome.
Last appearance went ever so well.
I look forward to your coverage and
Thanks.
watching it at home in the convenience of
Your
pajamas.
my pants.
Oh.
Yeah.
Brent, how about yourself? How you doing this week?
What's up, my chiefs of chafing, my guardians of gouging? How art thou?
Chiefs of
I don't know
Chafing.
what that's related to.
That isn't that like a Christmas song, like Seven Chiefs of Chafing or something like that? Or
I'm
is
almost positive it's not.
No.
But you know what? Just because I'm feeling charitable today, sure, it is.
By the way,
Yeah,
have you ever thought about doing Santa at the mall?
He did that one time, but they arrested him because it was like outside the mall in an alley.
And I was like, come sit on my lap.
Yeah.
Come sit on my lap.
Drug deals don't really
I'll give
count.
you a present.
That's exactly right. You'll get a present, all right. Yeah, it didn't go so well. I'm actually not allowed within a half mile of a Santa costume, legally speaking.
All right. Well, on that note, let's go ahead and run through the gauntlet.
Bah humbug.
Gauntlet!
All right, guys, in the gauntlet here, and our first bit of news is we got an official announcement for the Far Cry series. DK, you want to take us down what we found out about the new one?
Yeah, it turns out that the rumors weren't a far cry from the truth, because Ubisoft recently announced that Far Cry 4 is indeed taking place in the Himalayas.
shit.
And not only that, but the PlayStation 3, the cross-generational title, the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and PC game has a release date as well.
What?
November 18th in the United States and November 20th in EMEA territory. So
That's
look
like 6
for it
months
then.
away.
Yeah, I know, right? Really super close. It's being led in development by Ubisoft Montreal, but the other Ubisoft teams at Red Storm, Ubisoft Toronto, Shanghai, all that are contributing to the project. And here's the official description. It's pretty short, but I'm going to read it like a description should be read.
Okay.
In Far Cry 4, players find themselves in Kyrat, a breathtaking, perilous, and wild region of the Himalayas, struggling under the regime of a despotic, self-appointed king. Using a vast array of weapons, vehicles, and animals, players will write their own story across an exotic, open-world landscape. So the animals part's really intriguing. Because they're saying you're using them a lot like weapons and vehicles. So people talk about riding elephants, riding
Riding
all this other
pachyderms like Hannibal of
Yeah,
Carthage.
Yeah, apparently you're going to be in the jungle in this one.
No,
Well,
really?
Not that that's ever.
So in addition to that, we also know that there's like a limited edition that you get when you pre-order it, and that features Herc's Redemption, which is 3 single-player missions that feature Herc from the Far Cry 3 DLC, and you'll also get Herc's signature harpoon gun called the Impaler if you feel
I wonder why
so
they call it
inclined
the
to pre-order
Impaler.
it. I don't know. That's odd. Like Vlad the Impaler. But anyway, there you go. That's Far Cry 4. They say we're going to see it during their press conference at E3, which I would hope so if the games come out in November.
Yeah,
what do you guys think about Far Cry 4?
I guess that I'm just going to wait and see what they show off. I guess I'm a late bloomer to the Far Cry series. I have Far Cry 2 and 3, neither of which I've played much. Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, on the other hand, different story. And actually, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon is the game that kind of got me into the series. For whatever reason, despite my love of open world games, just the subject matter and setting of Far Cry and everything just never quite grabbed me. But the game mechanics of Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon were really what got me interested in the series. And I said, if mechanically the games are like this, I could really be into this because I really dig. I dig what's going on here, and obviously Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon is just awesome to play in general.
Yeah.
It's probably though because you've never been on an island vacation and been, abducted by, crazy terrorist type of people. Which
is why you should play more Far Cry to get training in, so that if that ever happens.
That's true. Just in case you have a Die Hard situation developing at some point down the road. So anyway, I look at Far Cry 4 with more interest than I did Far Cry 3. I was not very interested in Far Cry 3 when it was announced. When they showed it off, I wasn't into the series at this point. However, now I am more interested in Far Cry just as a franchise. So I'll definitely be interested to see what they have at E3 and see just whether or not it grabs me or anything. I'm not sold on it yet, but I'm willing to be.
Yeah, I've picked up the other Far Cries kind of like during Steam sales. They're one of those things where I wasn't really excited that much for them when they originally came out, but picked them up when they were cheap. But I got to be honest, I probably have played Blood Dragon more than all of the other titles combined. Which almost, and I know actually quite a few people I think that enjoyed Blood Dragon at least as much, if not more, than they have some of the other titles, and really it's not really all that connected, but like it kind of makes me wonder why they don't why don't we see a second one? Why exactly, why haven't we seen maybe even if it's an offshoot, why not? I don't know. Be kind of interesting to see. But yeah, I'm sort of with Brent on it. I'll be interested to see. This time of year, it's always sort of trepidatious to say anything because we're coming right up on E3. Essentially, all the stuff we'll talk about today, there's so little information on it that here in another couple weeks we're gonna really get our first look at. So it's a little too early to say, but at least looks like the main baddie has good taste in clothes. All right, so next up we've got another big announcement that we're going to hear more about at E3. But we've got some info on Fable Legends. Brent, you want to tell us a little bit about what we're going to hopefully see this E3?
Well, we know that Fable Legends is already a very exciting title.
According to...
It's already a very exciting title.
According to the developers.
We're working hard on making it crappier by the day.
According to John Needham, head of Lionhead Studio, Fable Legends is already a really exciting title. It's fun. It's built on Unreal 4. It's going to really, really be one of the most beautiful games on the Xbox One, according to him. And they're just super busy gearing up for E3. They're going to have a huge presence. They're going to have a booth where it's playable. Other than that, though, we're just going to have to wait for E3 to really, really know what's going on. Of course, this is the 4-player co-op title that was announced at the Gamescom event last year. And Lionhead has talked about how they're planning to not just support the game, but actually evolve the game through DLC. And there's been hints even that Fable Legends might serve as the first season of some longer-running game series, perhaps a la The Walking Dead or The Wolf Among Us, that kind of thing. Okay. We know that there's going to be a beta running for the game sometime this year, or at least that was the plan, although, may not be the case now. We'll just have to wait and see what they say at E3, find out what the game looks like, how the game plays. Fable is one of those bigger Xbox exclusives, and that's one thing that we were talking about very recently that we all felt like we needed to see from Microsoft this year at E3. We really, really need to see those big, heavyweight Xbox exclusive titles being shown off at E3. This is certainly one of them. There's another one that I think we'll be talking about in just a few minutes.
Yes.
But definitely the Fable series is one of the heavyweights. What do you guys think about Fable Legends? And do you think that this is going to be the big console exclusive hit that they need it to be?
Well, just personally speaking, for me, this is kind of the final straw for me with Fable. Like, they need to get this right, because the series started so well, and as I've spoken about on this show for years, I love the original game, and have been increasingly more disappointed with efforts following the original. But because I love the original so much, I've always been holding out hope. Now this game is jumping to a next-gen platform. It's a different type of experience, being multiplayer and whatnot, co-op. I'm really hoping it impresses. It's going to be playable. I plan on checking it out at E3. I hope I really like it. I hope that they keep it simple in terms of the gameplay, that's not overly complicated but still very fun. I mean, the thing that's compelling about Fable, the original one, was the atmosphere, the growth of your character, fun environments to explore. And I think led by the vision of Peter Molyneux, they kind of are always trying to do like really outlandish things, and now that that's not really there, I'm hoping that this is just a fun game in a great setting with good combat, good co-op experience. And like I said, if this doesn't, I'm not going to judge it based on the E3 demo completely, but it's going to significantly impact my impression, and hopefully when it comes out, it will fulfill what I hope the Fable franchise is capable of. Otherwise, I am just going to put it in timeout like I do one of my kids and just let it sit in the corner for a few years.
Well, I mean, thank goodness. I mean, to put your mind at ease a little bit, it's already very enjoyable.
Yeah, come on,
so you really shouldn't have much to worry about when you play it. I will say, like, the pre-rendered video that they showed us when this was originally announced looks amazing.
Sure.
And I really like that. I love the idea that it is based like in the Fable universe, but I don't think it's really directly tied to anything previously. So it's like, if you're, in a way, I feel like it's sort of a fresh start for Fable. And so I think that this could be a really cool title for him. I really am interested to see, how it looks. Is it going to really truly look like a next gen title? I'm glad to hear that it is next gen only. It's not, going to be one of those where they sort of have to
cross platform,
maybe pare it down to, to have it on both platforms or whatnot. So, in all seriousness, I am kind of excited to see what this looks like. But I'm sort of with you, DK, that if it doesn't, if with them talking it up as much as they are already for E3, if it doesn't really kind of turn you one way or the other during E3, then I sort of feel like it's going to be one of those B tier titles, which is just there's going to be a few people that enjoy it, but just as a whole, I don't know how much of an impact it's really going to have.
Like George Bush said, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, you can't fool me twice.
Well, anyway, hopefully it comes out looking at least something like that pre-render trailer, because that looked just fun as hell. Yes, so, all right, next up we have another game which the footage we've seen so far looked absolutely amazing, but unfortunately looks like we won't get to see it in real time anytime real soon.
Yeah.
DK, you want to tell us a little bit about what we've heard about Tom Clancy's The Division?
We won't be seeing a snowdrop of it in 2014. Initially we did report, this has been months now, that the game was going to get pushed back to 2015, at which point they were like, who said that? Not us. But now it is actually being pushed back to 2015, and I would like to treat everyone to another interpretive reading of a press release. Except this time, I'm going to insert a couple of things that aren't in there, and I'm going to see if you could actually tell what's me and what's the press
hang on,
release.
I'm going to not look. Go.
Okay. Agents. Today we announced that Tom Clancy's The Division will be available in 2015 for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. Working on The Division is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for all of us at Massive, Reflections, and Red Storm Entertainment. We are creating something we are really proud of, and we don't want to compromise on quality. We're going to release the game when it's goddamn ready!
think
we
that
want to
last
thank
part
you
might-
again
Was
for
that
the
the part? Was the
exceptional
last part
ongoing
the
support.
part?
Community is at the heart of what we're doing, and we're very much designing the team with you in mind. So your involvement means a lot to us. The production is getting stronger every day, and we can't wait to show you what we've been up to at this year's E3. So freaking pre-order it. Massive love, the dev team.
You know, you do actually have to kind of thank them for not delaying it and then announcing the pre-order at the end of the press release. I mean, we can at least thank them for that small sliver of
Yes.
of
Decency.
consideration.
Decency, yes. So what do you guys think? It's delayed until 2015. Personally, it
We
looks
all
like it'll be
knew
worth
this,
the wait.
So
That's exactly right. I mean, like, how did they not know it was going to be delayed to 2015? Because everybody else on the internet knew that it was going to be delayed to 2015. I remember when they first showed it off. I remember some people saying, "Oh, that looks really great. No way it's coming next year." And at the time, maybe you could have just accused them of being cynical. But here we are, and it's borne out. And I don't think that any of us are surprised, given the specificity of the rumors that we heard earlier this year about what the problems with the delays were, and or excuse me, like what the specific issues behind the delay was. Yeah. I think that it's fine. I think that there's other things that Ubisoft's going to have going on this year that will keep people interested. They don't necessarily they don't need the Division in order to have a big year. They're going to have Watch Dogs. They're going to have a new Assassin's Creed game. They're going to have Far Cry, like we were talking about. So I don't think that they're going to necessarily miss the Division all that much. They can hold off till next year. But the fundamental problem comes back. I mean, look at the Far Cry announcement, okay? Look at the Far Cry announcement. By contrast, okay? Hey, there's going to be a Far Cry 4, and it's coming out in 6 months. Now, if they actually hit that date, which I think it's probably reasonable to assume they will, if they actually hit that date, that'll suit me just fine. That's a lot more of what we need. I need a lot more. Hey, Far Cry 4 is going to be, on your doorstep, in your console, etc. in 6 months. I could use a lot more of that and a lot less of, hey, here's Tom Clancy's The Division. This is going to be coming out in 18 months, and then actually we're going to have to push it back a whole year. It's like, why don't you just hold off? Like, why
do they feel the need to give us a date?
Why don't you just wait and tell me about it
it's
6 months out from launch?
It's the same thing we always friggin' argue. I don't know why. I wish they would just.
There's no
benefit.
The only thing it does is if you aren't expecting it earlier and they know that they can deliver it earlier, that's the only time to do it.
Yeah,
if you're not expecting it this year, but they're like,
that actually
exactly.
Yeah.
I really, honest to God, don't understand what the benefit is. I'm gonna pester people from now on. I'm just gonna pester people to figure out what the thought process is.
Like even when you told us, like you said, like, oh, it's going to be coming out next year. Even then, people were calling bullshit on this, and now you've proven them right. What benefit did any of this get you?
That's the thing. It is kind of frustrating too. Is how they will sort of go back instead of just and say like look, we haven't said it's delayed yet, and it's like, okay.
We all know you're going to.
Oh, so now you do though, and you're it's cool because we all sort of knew it was going to happen. Real quick, the one thing I was going to say about this is I do sort of think that you kind of mentioned that they don't need the Division for the end of this year to make the year, and I kind of agree that there was never any time that it was a realistic expectation. I'm sure if they could have it at the end of this year, they'd love to. Sure, that would just make their year look that much better. But I do kind of wonder if Ubisoft isn't sort of like I kind of feel like maybe the announcement for Far Cry 4 in a way maybe because it's sort of on current gen development. It's sort of like. It's not like developing an entirely new title completely from scratch. Yeah. It's like, I think they can put one together more quickly. I wonder if this is almost a thing to get another title out before the end of the year because, their big title for last year, Watch Dogs, of course, did not make it out at the end of the year.
Very true.
Which, again, a lot of people were sort of iffy on, but to be honest, they were selling it pretty hard at the time that it was coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, there was launch PS4 console bundles that were supposed to come with it.
Oh, yeah.
But and it's still not out now, and I also honestly feel like a lot of the kind of shine on it has sort of worn off a little bit, and I really wonder if it will sell as well now as it would had it come out on time. So in a way, I kind of think that maybe Ubisoft is sort of wishing they could have gotten it out this year, and I think maybe that's why we just heard about the Far Cry 4
I see your point, but I also think that subtracting the Division from this year's lineup multiplies Far Cry's chances for success, so it really all adds up.
Well.
Can we please go on to the last story now?
Yeah. All right, so last but not least in the gauntlet this week, we have the announcement that...
I love how you guys actually just sound like you're like you got bad news or something. You're like,
just gave
all right,
up.
Let's like you just gave up. It's an Ubisoft gauntlet almost.
I was going to say, last up in the
yeah.
Ubisoft heavy gauntlet this week, we have the announcement that the Child of Light game that just recently released for a multitude of consoles will be coming to the PS Vita here pretty soon. Brent, when are we going to get to put our hands on it?
So Ubisoft announced today that they were recording that Child of Light is coming to the PS Vita on July 1st for North America and July 2nd for Europe. The game will be priced at $14.99 here in the States and £11.99 sterling, I guess, in Europe. And this will be joining the current console versions of the game, which it's currently out right now for PlayStation 3 and 4, Xbox 360 and 1, as well as PC and Wii U, surprisingly enough.
A game?
A game on Wii U. So, Child of Light, I will now treat you to a press release rendering of my own design.
Yes.
Child of Light is a reimagining of classic fairy tales set against a picturesque background inspired by the watercolor artworks of the golden age of illustration. As a playable poem, Child of Light takes players on an extraordinary journey through the mystical world of Lemuria by putting them in the shoes of Aurora, a young princess who must win back the sun, the moon, and the stars, held captive by the mysterious queen of the, wait for it, night. A return to classic JRPG, Child of Light blends together platforming and turn-based combat while providing a rich storyline, robust soundtrack, and beautifully rendered hand-drawn art style.
One more time with feeling.
I know, right? And I guess it would also be worth saying that Europe is going to be getting a retail copy of the game in the form of the complete edition that'll be released on the same day. And
what makes it complete? The box?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you get the box, but you also get the bonus quest, a new character, and a collectibles pack.
Sounds pretty complete.
I've heard relatively good things about Child of Light. How interested are you guys in this? What do you think?
I know DK was pretty pumped for it. Did you have a chance to check it out yet?
No, and I'm glad I haven't because I'm going to play it on the Vita instead. I hope that the controls...
Like a good game for it.
Yeah, it seems like a really great game for it. So, yeah, no, sold.
I love I love the animation style. Like, it looks like, that watercolor. It looks like child's books that we read when we were kids. I mean, like, it looks like a lot of that.
Books like these? Man, you're stupid. I read, like... Conan the Barbarian and shit like that because I'm hardcore.
I'm talking about when we were young kids and we used to go to the library. I mean, like a lot of the
I don't even know how to read.
DK, we've been trying to tell you that for years, buddy.
That's why you were looking at the picture books. But anyway, I do think exactly it looks great. And the one thing I love about the Vita now, a new Vita just came out recently, a new model that has changed. The biggest difference is a little bit lighter and a little bit thinner, but the biggest change is the screen. But I don't know what it is. My favorite thing about the Vita is the OLED display. Like, I was playing Dragon's Crown not too long ago, kind of going back and playing through it because I'd never beat it the first time through. So I was starting a new character and playing through it again, and I love how you can go back and forth between the Vita and the PS3 version. And I would play it on my TV, and it looked awesome, but then you'd go to the Vita, and just that extra, like, saturation of the colors and everything, like, it just... I don't know, man. The Vita just looks great for that for like artwork. I think it just brings it out, and so I really think Child of Light would be a great way to play it would be on the Vita.
Yeah.
But well,
thanks for shedding some light on that subject for us.
All right.
Oh, you're welcome.
Did you pick up a Vita yet?
No.
All right, guys, we are here in the main topic, and the big news this past week is that surprise, surprise, they're doing another Halo.
Yeah.
And this one is going to be for the Xbox One, unless Microsoft decides to reverse that decision sometime between when it comes out. But anyway, we got a couple of details around the Halo franchise, some of the things to look forward to over the next year or so, and what we're going to see at E3. DK, you want to kind of run us through some of the stuff we've found out about?
Well, we knew Halo was coming, but we officially got the announcement of Halo 5 Guardians this past week, and the fact that it's coming to Xbox One in 2015. We also learned that the team at 343 Industries is working really hard to not just make another Halo game, but to copy Destiny. No, I'm joking. to put Samus Aran in their game, according to the artwork. No, I'm just joking again. No, they're basically saying Halo needs to be a revolutionary experience on Xbox One. They realize kind of the expectation that people will have with Halo 5 Guardians in comparison to other games, but also understanding what Halo has meant to the Xbox platform. For a lot of people, the word Halo is synonymous with the Xbox platform, and they understand that, and they're trying to deliver something that's not just bigger, which it will be in terms of scope and scale, but actually going to fundamentally redefine both the franchise and hopefully even the genre. The question is, and the subject of our main topic is exactly how will they do that? They've spoken a lot about, building this brand new engine. It's basically the first time a Halo game is going to be on a new engine since the original title, and taking things to a whole new level. Now, of course, we know this genre is jam-packed. We also know that the original Halo developers, Bungie, are competing with Destiny in a way, and ironic as it is, Guardians is kind of the name of the player class in Destiny, and now you're Halo 5 Guardians, so lots of guarding going on.
You say ironic, I say suspicious.
Suspicious, ironic, a lot of similarities in the look of the characters as well. So it begs the question, the original Halo on Xbox had an opportunity to kind of really stand out because of what it brought in terms of multiplayer gameplay to the console market. Prior to that game, that type of experience was kind of reserved for PC players. Then when it comes on the Xbox 360, it really kind of it did justice for Xbox Live and bringing that multiplayer functionality to a level that a lot of people hadn't experienced before. What is it? Now that we're used to all of those things, what is it that Halo 5 can do in order to push the genre, not just the franchise, forward? That's the big question.
They can rip off Destiny. You know what the situation is? This is what the situation is.
Okay.
Now that George Lucas has sold LucasArts and the Star Wars franchise to Disney, this is as if George Lucas now, after all these years, finally secured the rights to make Flash Gordon and started making Flash Gordon movies that competed with Star Wars. That's basically what the situation is.
You think so?
It is. It's like really fascinating. It's really, really fascinating to see 343 carrying on the game series with all the sensibilities and play style and mechanics built in that Bungie established so long ago. It's really interesting to see 343 carrying that flag along, while Bungie themselves has sidestepped over into this new property that they're working on, Destiny, and seeing those two forces going head to head with each other, as we will inevitably see, is going to be really fascinating. And I agree that it seems like probably the most difficult thing that 343 has to do is to not do the same thing again, and yet do the same thing again. They have to walk that tightrope that's so precarious at times between having to do enough of the things. It's like Tony always talks about with people that make movies based on pre-existing properties. You have to, at the same time, make it familiar to the fans of the franchise. You have to deliver on the experience that they're expecting and make sure that everything that they need to be there is there, and yet at the same time you have to find a way to bring something new to it that will innovate, that will advance both the game series itself as well as the platform itself. As they're talking about, they really see Halo as being a chief driver of Xbox innovation on the platform itself. So it's a difficult tightrope to walk, but I think that 343 Industries has definitely proven themselves capable, number one, and then number two, just from a standpoint of what needs to happen, and this is what I alluded to in the Gauntlet. There's no way that you can do your second E3, basically, since the announcement of the Xbox One. There's no way you're going to be able to get through another E3 and not talk a Halo game. And even though this game isn't going to be coming out until next year, there's something that's going to be coming out this year. They're very specific about this. The journey to the journey to the next Halo starts in 2014. So whether that is whether that is some sort of content for the Xbox Originals TV thing, whatever it is that they've got in mind that's going to get things kicked into gear this year, whatever that might be, they've got to do Halo at this year's E3, and I think that this is a fundamental thing they've got to do for the platform moving forward. They've got to have those big heavyweight Xbox exclusives, and there is no bigger heavyweight exclusive for the Xbox than Halo. So I'm right in line with this. I think they're doing exactly what they need to do, and I think that giving people the tease a few weeks ahead of E3 is a good idea.
Yeah, no, I mean that's definitely what they need to do. Although I don't, we kind of started this conversation off with what do they need to do to sort of to evolve the franchise or whatever. I'm really not so sure they even need to do that. They just need to deliver a AAA quality Halo game. The reason I say that too is we don't even have a library of Xbox One titles yet. You know what I mean? It's like once you have this library of titles where you have your core games that everybody wants to play, then you can kind of start talking about, okay, now next time around we need to sort of do something different. We don't even have sort of that baseline to work from yet on the Xbox One. We have a couple of titles, but a huge swath of them are multi-platform that are on all kinds of different things. So their core franchises like Halo, like honestly, I'm hoping a little bit we might hear something from Gears of War this year. I'm hoping we might hear something about these pretty classic 360, especially kind of titles that people think of when they think about the 360 in terms of exclusivity. Some of the titles we heard about from that decade of games brought into the new generation. I think they just need to do a great Halo game, and it does sound like they're focusing on, for instance, 60 frames per second gameplay, which there's always this back and forth, and it's always kind of weird to me because there's a lot of people out there like, it doesn't make that big a difference. To a lot of people, especially when you're playing like multiplayer gameplay, it makes a big difference, and so I think that just the fact that they're focusing on that, to me, says that they're going to have a great single player game, which they always that is sort of always their initial main focus. But I also think that they're probably going to have a pretty kick-ass multiplayer brought along with this title. That's one of the things is Halo kind of was Halo was the first console thing to really, other than maybe like GoldenEye. Back in the day, I guess you could say GoldenEye was kind of the grandfather, but really Halo kind of brought it into a much closer to what we think of it as now. So I really expect them to deliver on that when that does come out. And I think we'll probably also hear that there's the potential of maybe an HD remake. That's we've heard the rumors of possibly the Halo, the TV series. Polygon has kind of put a rumor out there that they think that there's a possible HD remake of one or more of the original titles for the one. Any of those things is fine, but those are just sort of placate thing. They just hold you over until the big thing. And I'll be really genuinely, I'm not a big Halo fan, and I don't make any bones about it. But if they came out with a really kick-ass Halo game, I don't have a lot else to play on my Xbox One right now, so there's a good chance I would check it out. If it impressed me.
I agree with you that they just need to deliver a good Halo experience, but they're the ones kind of raising the bar, and also because of it is the thing that concerns me. I just want a good Halo game as well. Like, I am a Halo fan. I'm not like a diehard Halo fan, but like it's my Call of Duty basically. It's like when a new Halo comes out, I like to get it. It is fun. I always build up my character, mess around with them, have fun, and whatever. I enjoy it. But they're the ones, Bonnie Ross from 343 in the initial announcement said, quote, certainly there are some elements carried over from prior games, but we've invested a huge effort in retooling our tech to take full advantage of the Xbox One's hardware and ecosystem to create worlds and experiences worthy of next gen. And so when you look at words like ecosystem and experiences, I'm just wondering and kind of hoping against them, saying, okay, well, this is a flagship title for the Xbox One. Microsoft's made a big effort to kind of make this a media hub. You've got the Halo show. Are they going to try it? Like, is their big innovation going to be that, like, the game dictates the content of the show that you could only watch on Xbox One, whatever the thing is called now with Xbox Originals thing. And so that's the big thing now. Like, this is the, you play the game, you watch the show, you're totally immersed in Halo only on Xbox One. I just want a good game, so I'm wondering if that's...
Too much to ask for. You're asking too much.
I'm just wondering if that's where they're saying this is where this experience goes, because when you kind of start read between the lines here with, like, we're taking advantage of the hardware and an ecosystem to create worlds of experiences.
The ecosystem, though, could just as easily be Xbox Live and cloud computing.
Okay, but them making a multiplayer video game isn't next gen at all. I mean, that's everyone expects that. Halo has been, almost best in class on a lot of multiplayer stuff for a while.
Well, but I'm talking about with, like, the cloud implementation. Like, a lot of that is stuff like AI that can supposedly only be done off-site on the cloud. So maybe when you're playing the single-player missions, maybe there's a... we always talk about, like, AI is one of those things, like, sometimes it's a little harder to put your finger on, but it could be the thing that really does change this generation. Maybe this is the game that really starts to do it, And now, I do think that, you mentioned sort of like, it sounded a little bit like what you mentioned was kind of like how they did with that, was it Defiance? That video game where, like, the game and the TV show sort of melded. I could almost see something like that, and I'm not even polarly opposed to something like that. If, like, you hear about, like, in this week's episode, you hear about a battle that's about to happen, and so, like, at the end of the episode, the episode ends of them going into battle, and then during that week you could play, like, battles within this war that's going on. I think stuff like that could be really cool and could potentially be pretty easy to do with the ecosystem of the Xbox One.
Well, and they've got, Microsoft's got everything that they would need to do something like that, and hopefully, with the Halo property, they would have sufficient interest, and with 343, they'd have sufficient talent to hopefully deliver on it in a really significant way.
Yeah.
Are we done talking about Halo? Can we stop now? I'm more than happy to move along. All right, guys, well, we are coming up near the end of this week's Skirmish, but first we have our Battle Cries of the week, and I'm going to start off with my Battle Cry, which is actually not directly game-related, although it is kind of related to the subject we were just talking about with the possibility of sort of like a Defiance-style, TV series, game series thing. I really think that Halo could be onto something because I don't think Defiance unfortunately just ever got the popularity around it to really sell that, whereas I think a Halo series definitely could. And it kind of came to mind something that for the first time, I just watched through the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV series.
Okay.
I'd kind of put it off the whole season, but now that it's over, I obtained a copy of the show, and literally one night watched it. Like, literally took me like 16 hours straight.
You spent 16 hours watching the whole thing in one sitting?
Yeah, so like, seriously, like, I finished because like what happened is I finished the season finale. And it ended really strong. And, like, I texted Tony, I'm like, you have got to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And, within, like, 2 hours or something, he texted me, like a joke from, like, the end of the first episode. And then, like, the next day when I got up, he was telling me about the season finale. I was like...
I texted him. I was like, all right, man, that's pretty damn good. But here, the reason I was bringing that up was they did something that I thought was so awesome in it. And, I had already seen Captain America the Winter Soldier. Yeah. But the series, it's probably the first time I can ever think of where the TV series is an ongoing, like it is currently going. So 1 week, an episode leads, roughly. It's not like directly correlated, but, it's involving a lot of the same people and the same, shield and all that sort of stuff. But it leads up to it in 1 week. And then the next week, if you haven't seen, like, that weekend's, Winter Soldier movie, you would really be kind of wondering what the hell had happened, because a big chunk of what happens between those two episodes, they never show in the series. Yeah. And I thought it was so odd. Now, it's not like you couldn't have followed it. Don't get me wrong. You could have just watched the series, not seen the movie, and still figured out what happened. But it was such an awesome thing to kind of be... To sort of see how they did that, to see how they, the TV series you watched up, and then if you go see this other thing, this completely different property in a way, but related, to see how many things it affected it, and then it directly, the next week, not like the next season, but the next week's show directly speaks to events that happen in the movie. it was very, very cool, even kind of having seen the movie and already sort of knowing what happened, but still appreciating what they were doing there. I would love to see that sort of stuff happen in like a video game series. I think that'd be great to see the tides turn in a battle that you actually fight in on a server, on this weekend, and then next week's show, talks about things that came out from that. I think that could be a really cool thing. So, hopefully we'll see things like that happen in the future in a good way. If they're done poorly,
forced,
that's one thing. But I mean, But anyway, I think that could definitely be something for us to look for in the future.
Cool.
All right. Next up, Brent, do you have your battle cry this week?
I do. Depending on how old you are, you may or may not remember one of the most infamous titles in all of video gamedom, and that, of course, was
Infamous, the games, right?
Yes, obviously. But one of the first full motion video games back in the day for the Sega CD was Night Trap, which was an extremely controversial title at the time, although you can go back and watch it now and really have no clue what the big deal was. Anyway, the game's creator, James Riley, has said that he's planning a re-release of the game, and that he's been talking with a number of interested parties to do so. No specifics right now as to platforms. Nothing to confirm. And but just putting it out there into the ether that quote Night Trap will come back in better resolution and gameplay than before. We just want to be sure it's the best strategy for all involved. Night Trap was really pretty thin on gameplay when you think about it, but the main draw was that it was almost like you were almost directing, in a sense, a B horror film about sorority girls being menaced by a vampiric threat, and you interacted with the game by switching security camera feeds throughout the sorority house. And don't ask why there's a series of security cameras clandestinely planted throughout a sorority house. Anyway, Night Trap is also famous because it basically led to the creation of the ESRB. There was such a stir raised about the game, and that is what led the video game industry to create the software ratings board that still rates games to this day. So anyway, just a little footnote in video game history, and frankly, I'd love to see Night Trap come back. That'd be a real interesting bit of nostalgia, and it'd be fascinating to see whether or not they update the gameplay, whether they do anything fundamentally different with the game, or whether they just adapt what was there into some modern incarnation, which you could just about do that game through a webpage these days.
Didn't somebody do a remake? Because I mean, it's very similar in gameplay style to something like even like Dragon's Lair to a degree, where you're like pointing, you move one direction, then it plays the next clip, you move another direction. I mean, it was sort of like that. It
was slightly more complex than that.
A little, exactly, yeah.
At a fundamental level, it wasn't too different.
And they remade that, not too long ago, like for iPhone, and with higher quality video and stuff. So it would be nice to see them do it. Maybe I would hope maybe almost reshoot everything like in high def, or do something cool. But yeah, that is really cool. I remember the last version of that I ever owned, oddly enough, was the Sega 32X CD version.
Oh yeah,
which meant you had to have both the Sega CD and the 32X, and it gave you like all of 8 more colors in the video or something, to make it look, just that much more awesome.
Right.
But that's awesome.
I wonder what they shot
cool.
it. I wonder what they shot the footage on originally. I wonder if they shot it on video, if they actually maybe shot it on like 16mm film or something like that.
Yeah, I would almost say video. I just because
it was such a cheap production.
It just you'd think, but
it'd be interesting though if they actually could go back to like the film masters and mine an HD version out of it or something though.
Yeah, no, it would be pretty cool. All right, DK, what about yourself? You got a battle cry this week?
I do. Last week I talked about the CD Projekt Red community, and this week I'm just talking about CD Projekt Red because they did something really cool. They were talking about The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, obviously their big new game. In addition to releasing just new logos for their studio and a new logo for their game that gave some insight into the story, they talked about the fact that they will not play the game with platform exclusive content. They came out and said that they're treating all versions of the game the same, and that they're not going to deliver exclusive content to any of the platforms. The game's obviously coming out on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. And they also said that they're not going to artificially delay the release of the game on any of the platforms because somebody's paying them a bunch of money to do that. They said it's definitely against their values to do that, and they're not going to play that game. And basically, I really commend them for doing that, especially in this day and age where we see that a lot. But they're really excited excited about releasing this game. They don't want to devalue, and I'm really going to hold them to this. You know, you don't want to see the PlayStation 4 exclusive pre-order bonus of getting the whatever armor pack or this like the game. This takes us back to the days when the game was the game. You know what I'm saying? You play to win the game. and this is, you know, this is what this is about. And I think it's really commendable by them to do that, especially, you know, they could get big heads about the Witcher franchise getting really big, but instead they're really kind of sticking to their roots, and I commend them for doing that. And obviously I'm looking forward to seeing how the end game turns out and hoping to see a lot of it at E3 2014. So there you go. That's my battle cry.
Very cool. I'm totally with you there on that as well. Not with all the bonuses. I think I saw somebody put together a little template of
the Watchdog. Oh my god!
Yeah. And I mean, literally, it was like it looked like scientific research.
Yes.
Like, I mean, it had 89 variables, and like, you know, if you buy it here, but on this platform you get this. Yeah. But if you buy it here and on this platform, you know, it was just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Very, very cool. I wish though you'd quit referring to them as seedy. They seem like very good people, very reputable. I don't think that they're
ding. Second week in a row.
People. And I'm sure they like to drink.
Brent, do you have our member battle cry this week?
I do indeed, and the member battle cry comes once again this week, as I think that this member has had a couple battle cries with us over the years, but it comes once again from Miguel Ramos. And Miguel says, "Hi guys, good show. I'm the first one to applaud any change that is consumer friendly, either because of the initiative of a company, low sales, because of user backlash, or because of the competition. It's great, no matter if it's a 180 or whatever. Better to admit the mistakes made and improve than to be deaf and blind, holding to your guns just for the sake of, quote, being right, unquote. But when will Microsoft learn to shut the fuck up?" Their big mouths is what put them on the spot. Even now, Microsoft Chief Marketing and Strategy Officer Yusuf Mehdi said that the Xbox One is selling less than the PlayStation 4 because people enjoy the 360 more than the PS3. Really? Come on. Haven't you learned to just shut up? These policy changes look ridiculous just because they said they would not do it. The same thing with the first 180. They said it couldn't be done, and then they did it. Microsoft has a mouth too big for their own good. But hey, at least they are moving in the right direction. You know, you're not entirely wrong. PR is a very interesting business, and it is interesting how usually the safest bet is just to not say anything. Less is more, usually you can only do yourself more harm by saying too much. I think that the interesting thing about the point that he brings up, the quote from Yusuf Mehdi about the reason that the Xbox One is not doing as good as the PlayStation 4 is because the Xbox 360 is so boss. It's like, yeah, that's a great point. How does that in any way help you? How does that make the fact that the PlayStation 3 caught up with the 360? How does that make the fact that the PlayStation 4 is outselling the Xbox One? How is any of that good for Microsoft if that's true? I mean, even if you accept it on face value, I still don't understand how you could turn it into a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Microsoft, honestly, they handled the Xbox One just the same way Sony did the PS3 after the PS2.
Right. You think they
came into it so... see, now that's the bad thing.
They're not the one that made the mistake. Sony
exactly.
But it's better to learn from other people than to make your own mistake.
Sure,
you know what I'm saying?
Good luck doing it, though.
Well, but that's the thing, though. Now they know, and I will say, admittedly, I do think that they have been quicker to react to it than anyone could have hoped for. Honest to goodness, I didn't see them changing the hardware revision for at least a year. So like at least late this year, we might have heard about a Christmas bundle or something that you know, an arcade bundle that came without the Kinect or something, and it would have been quiet and they wouldn't have admitted to it. But I got to give them credit; they really have come out ahead of things. He is totally right, though. They do need to they need to come at their each statement a little more measured than I think that they typically do. And
I think there's no doubting that the execs and the execs' performance to the media thus far could only be classified as, you know, mediocre. But I'm really hoping that at this year's E3 that they've learned this lesson and that they only tell us things that we could fall back
Bite
on
down on this.
in the year ahead. And if we could get to next year's E3 and look at whatever they said at this year's E3 and have it not be a complete reversal, then I guess they've done their job.
Well, and you know, they said that they really want to focus on games this year, and I don't see how that can be a bad thing for them.
Nope.
If they start talking about like totally new services or pushing new sort of peripherals or so, you know, anything like that, if they just focus on games, I think that's a winner for them.
I agree.
They just it's because I mean, you know, unless they start, you know, saying that like, you know, this game is going to be out the end of this year and it's not.
Mediocre.
Oh, come on.
Jesus. All right, guys. Well, that is going to do it for this week's episode. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this week, and please join us once again next week when we will be mercilessly cleaving the fat from the gaming stories of the day. For Brent Adams and Daniel Kaiser, I'm your host, Tony Grice. And remember, cry havoc, and if you enjoy watching Twitch, you might want to pack in a couple extra hours over the next few weeks, because it may be your last chance to watch some Let's Plays.
Before you have to pay YouTube or something?
I mean, you know, because if YouTube buys it, well, never mind. They're so good about, you know, standing behind the content of the... You know,
they're just eliminating competition, basically.
Basically,
that would be all it would be.
If YouTube buys it, don't be surprised at all if they just shut it down.
That's not good.
No, it's not good.
Hey, you know what they say? If you have a Twitch, scratch it. I love that I could make myself laugh because
we love it too. We love it for you.
Oh man.